Hey everyone, welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about ways to navigate and have a successful relationship that involves both an introverted and an extroverted person. One question I get a lot in my coaching sessions with clients is something along the lines of, hey, I'm a really introverted person and my partner is quite extroverted, and we're having these conflicts in what we want to do and how we want to spend our time and how we're communicating with each other. What are some ways that we can better communicate with each other and get along better and meet each other's needs? And as someone myself who is in a relationship with an extroverted person, and I'm very introverted myself, I think I've got some advice that could be helpful to people who are in this situation. So I've got for you a few tips today on how to navigate introvert extrovert relationships. A lot of the problems that arise early on in relationships involving an introvert and an extrovert are that the people don't really understand the other person and why they aren't feeling refreshed, energized, or why they are maybe in a stressed state because they haven't been able to do the things that they want to be doing that allow them to feel refreshed or energized. So, what we'll do is we'll get into these relationships and we'll say, okay, well, I really enjoy doing these things. So, we're going to spend a lot of time doing these things that I enjoy. And one person might create kind of a monopoly on like how the people are spending their time together. And then the other person is going to be really stressed or annoyed or burnt out if they aren't allowed to engage in the activities that allow them to feel refreshed or recharged. Say, for example, we have an introverted person who likes to spend time inside and play games all day, and they want their partner to stay inside and do that with them a lot. That might be okay for the short term, but eventually the extroverted person's going to be like, well, I need to get out of the house, go see friends, talk to people, engage in something out there to really allow myself that time to refresh and recharge. Or on the other side, maybe we have an extroverted person who wants to constantly go to the mall or go hang out with friends and they're dragging the introvert along with them. And then you're going to find that the introvert's really stressed or annoyed because they aren't allowed to stay home. They're not allowed to refresh and recharge their own mind by engaging in the introverted thought process. So that's really where a lot of the initial conflict is going to happen in these relationships. And what's really important if you want to develop a healthier relationship is to first and foremost get an idea of what is important to your partner in terms of them being allowed to refresh and recharge their mind. What activities do they want to or need to engage in frequently so that they can be themselves essentially? And if you get a good idea of what those activities are, then you can make sure that you're not going to be blocking them from doing those things. Once you've found the activities that are important to your partner, then see if there are any overlap between what you enjoy and what they enjoy in terms of these recharging or refreshing activities. A good example of something that genuinely both introverts and extroverts enjoy is going to the movies, for example. So, the introverted person gets to go to the movie and they're not like stuck in some environment where they have to be extroverted, where they have to be social, where they have to be outside of their own head. They're allowed to watch a movie, engage in the thought process that they have while watching the movie, while the extroverted person is allowed to get out of the house and enjoy something that is generally stimulating. They're going to be doing something that isn't just staying inside all day. They're not just stuck in their own head. They can be enjoying some sort of outside experience, which is generally what the extroverted person is going to enjoy. Now, that's just one example. It could be a lot of things for a lot of different people. Maybe you have a kind of game that both of you enjoy, some sort of social club that isn't too crazy, maybe going to a restaurant that you enjoy, maybe even going out to drink on a Friday night at a place that isn't too crowded. These are going to be examples of things that both introverts and extroverts might enjoy together, but it's really going to depend on you and the person that you're with. And sitting down and having these conversations early on in relationships can be so important. Really, just like sitting down with your partner and getting the idea of like, okay, here are the things that I really enjoy. Here are the things that you really enjoy. What areas of crossover are there? And we need to make sure that we set aside some time every now and then, even if it's only like once every few weeks, once a month, that we're doing one of these things together where we're allowed to be both refreshed and recharged, doing something that we like together. Now, a lot of the times with these kind of compromise activities, they're not going to be like maximally refreshing and recharging for both people. They're not going to be like super stimulating to the extrovert, but they're also not going to be something that allows the introvert to really get into that super introverted thought process that they enjoy. So having these middle grounds is nice because you can kind of come out of the cave of introversion or extroversion, communicate with your partner, do something you enjoy together, and then go back to doing what you need to do to recharge and refresh. And then you can come back and enjoy time together again once you're refreshed and recharged. That's really one thing that's important to remember when you're navigating these types of relationships is that you don't need to spend 100% of your time together. And that's something that we're going to talk about here in just a second when we talk about friend groups and social circles. The next big piece of advice is that your partner shouldn't be your entire social circle. And what I mean by that is a lot of people who get in relationships will spend so much time with their partner in the beginning that they don't spend time with their friends or even family anymore. They'll kind of just dedicate their entire lives to hanging out with their new romantic partner. And this is okay a lot in the beginning because you have all these new and exciting things to share with the other person. You have experiences that you want to tell them. You want to share your life, your goals, your ambitions, all these sorts of things. And for that first, month or few, you really have a lot to share. But after the dust begins to settle, a lot of people will kind of try to stay in this same dynamic where they want to spend all of their time with their partner. And this is something that's going to be even harder for relationships that have an introvert and an extrovert because now all the things that you had together that you could share in those initial experiences are not going to be things that you can talk about anymore. And now you have to kind of resort back to what is going to be refreshing, recharging for you in your normal everyday activities. And there's going to be differences in those, usually between the introvert and the extrovert. And this is why it's really important to not abandon your normal social circle just because you got into a relationship. If you're an introverted person, you probably have one or two friends who are also really introverted, who enjoy doing very introverted activities with you, whether you're on Discord, you're talking to people online, you're on the phone, these sorts of things. You're doing those activities together, where the extroverted person probably has friends that they like to go out with. They like to, go to the mall, hang out, go to an amusement park, go do very exciting, extroverted, very spontaneous things. And that's going to be something that you should recognize that your partner doesn't need to meet every single one of those needs. If you, as an introvert, are expecting your very extroverted partner to stay inside all day and want to play video games with you just because that's what you like to do, you're going to be quite annoyed when you realize that that's going to only frustrate and upset them in the long term because now they're not getting what they need out of their everyday interactions. Or if you're an extroverted person and you're constantly wondering, well, why won't my introvert leave the house, or why can't I get him to go out every day with me to go do something exciting, you're going to find that that introverted person is going to be burnt out, stressed, and want to go home as quickly as possible. So it's really important just to recognize that, don't force your partner to do things that they don't want to be doing, but also recognize that you can have friends who meet needs that you don't necessarily get from your romantic partner, because it is not your romantic partner's job or responsibility to fulfill every social need that you have in life. The final piece of advice is to not completely close off opportunities presented by your partner just because you don't think you would initially enjoy them. Say, for example, you're an introvert and your extroverted partner wants to bring you to a bar on a Friday night, and it's usually pretty lively. Most introverts probably aren't really going to enjoy that type of experience, but that doesn't mean they won't or they can't. I've met plenty of introverted people who like to go out and socialize maybe once a week, or they like to kind of get that energy out because they're not super introverted. So introversion and extroversion are somewhat of a spectrum where we have really, really introverted people and we have really, really extroverted people. A lot of people fall closer to the center, which means they're going to have some times where they like to engage in activities on the other side of that spectrum. So allow yourself, once every month or two to engage in something that your partner likes that you don't normally think that you would like, just to see if you would like it. And if you don't, then you can at least say that you tried. Then you can at least say, okay, well, I really wanted to do this, but it really just wasn't that exciting or energizing for me, and it actually stressed me out. And be upfront and honest with your partner about that. If you don't enjoy that activity, just tell them, and they should be willing and receiving of your needs as a person when you tell them this. And if they're not, that's a whole different situation and something that you need to talk about. So don't completely shut yourself off from opportunities presented by your partner when they want to do something that they enjoy just because you don't think that you would enjoy them. Now, another aspect of this is don't pressure your partner into doing something that they don't want to do. Now, this is really important. If you're an extrovert and you have an introverted partner, don't be like, hey, look, I'm going to be annoyed or mad at you if you don't go out with me to do this thing. Give them the opportunity, extend the invitation, and don't pressure them into doing that. And this goes both ways. If you're an introverted person as well, say, hey, you want to sit down and play a video game with me on Friday instead of going out to the bar? Maybe we spend some time together this weekend instead of, you going out to do the social things you usually do. Extend the invitation to them, and don't be annoyed or stressed if they decline that invitation or they don't want to do it at first. Some people need to warm up or open up to activities that they usually aren't engaging in their own free time. It's something that they don't think they can do. A lot of times people will literally use the phrase like, "Oh, I can't do that. Like, I don't think I would be good at doing that," or they're worried about how the situation's going to go. A lot of times introverted people enjoy social activities, but they're really stressed or afraid that they're going to make some sort of social blunder. Or extroverted people are afraid that maybe they're not going to have the level of insight into the activity that the introverted person enjoys because the introvert spends so much time doing that one thing. So extend an invitation out to your partner to engage in the things that you do enjoy, but don't pressure them into doing it, and don't be mad if they decline your invitation first, and be willing to give them time to maybe adapt or take a chance in the long run in doing that thing that you like.